That the church is to have leadership is a divine requirement. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 7 and 17. Organization is not wrong or carnal. People go to extreme on this matter. Some feel that the less organization, the better. Though in practice the work is hindered by not having sufficient organization. Others extreme and are so highly organized that it is difficult, if not impossible, for the head of the church to be heard. Nevertheless, the New Testament does sanction several classes of leaders. Elders, without doubt, elders were the principal leaders of New Testament churches. Though all do not agree, it appears that elders and bishops occupy the same position in the church. The term elder emphasizing more the office and the term bishop emphasizing more the function of that office, namely general oversight, at least in Ephesus. These were the same. Acts chapter 20 verse 17 and 28. In addition to general oversight of the work, elders ruled. 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 17. Guarded and taught the truth. Titus chapter 1 verse 9. And supervised financial matters. Acts chapter 11 verse 30. The question of how many elders there were in each assembly is debated. Clearly, there were several elders in each city where there were churches. Acts chapter 14 verse 23 and Philippians chapter 1 verse 1. But whether this meant several elders in each house, church, or possibly one elder in each individual congregation, and thus a plurality in each city, is debatable. 1 Timothy chapter 3, where the bishop singular is spoken of in verses 1 to 7. Then the deacons plural are described in verses 8 to 13. Elders were apparently ordained or set aside for their special ministry in the church. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 14 and Titus chapter 1 verse 5. Subordinate to the elders were the deacons. The word deacon means servant. Although all Christians can serve, certain ones were officially recognized in New Testament times as appointed servants to the church. The helpers of the elders, Acts chapter 6 verse 1 to 6. They were an officially recognized group, Philippians chapter 1 verse 1. The qualification for deacons, though not so detailed as for the elders, did include some of the same requirements. In addition, it is stated that deacons are not to be double-tongued. 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 8. This might indicate that deacons had more face-to-face and house-to-house contact with members of the local group in administering aid or visiting the sick. So they had to be reminded to be especially careful not to say one thing to one person and another thing to another. The fact that deacons are not mentioned in the parallel passage in Titus 1 does not indicate that they were optional at all. It may indicate either that the churches in Crete were not large enough yet to require more than elders to lead them, or it may mean that they had deacons but were lacking in elders. Deaconesses, only two verses in the New Testament, might possibly support the existence of deaconesses in those days. In Romans chapter 16, verse 2, whoever is called a servant, the word is deacon. The question is whether this is an official deaconesses or unofficial servant use of the word. Probably it is unofficial as in 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 15. The other relevant verse is 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 11 where certain women are mentioned. The question is whether these are the wives of deacons or deaconesses. The word in the original is simply that for women. If they were diagnosis, one would expect that they would be mentioned after verse 13. When the discussion of deacons was finished rather than inserted right in the middle of the paragraph about deacons, that seems to point to the conclusion that they were the wives of deacons. It is highly doubtful that there was an official of deaconesses in the early church.